Morning, everyone, and welcome. Hopefully you've had a great start to November. We got a little bit of snow in Columbus, which is always difficult for the people that don't know how to drive. They seem to forget when it transitions from season to season. Thank you for adjusting your schedules to visit us a little bit earlier today. And I'll turn things over to Tony.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for, first of all, thank you for rearranging any schedules to get on this call. We had a meeting scheduled late that basically was going to see how some other groups could help with the marijuana messaging. I don't want to give out their names until I'm sure that they're actually going to be on board, but it kind of looks promising, so couldn't miss that, and they just scheduled, I guess, yesterday. So, and the other is I'll be talking about later, where we are going to be going down and giving testimony for House Bill 314. Can everybody hear me, first off? Hope so. I would say, if not, let me know.
As we get started today, just a reminder that if you have a question come up, please ask your question in the questions pane. And if somebody could just send us a little message in the questions thing just to confirm that you hear us, that would be great. Because we can hear each other, but we just want to make sure that you can hear us.
Okay. I'd like to get started on just a real quick update on House Bill 170, which is the drug overdoses, basically the naloxone bill. It's still going through the process. It should be, I'm guessing, passed before they recess in December. If it doesn't pass before then it should be the first part of the year, but that should be a quick piece to get through. And actually, on November 19th, Cameron McNamee from the Department of Health, along with Judy Mosley, were kind of leading up the naloxone education piece for the Ohio Department of Health, and actually for the state of Ohio. We'll actually be at the SPECA meeting. Again, that's November 19th. So if you had any questions or anything, this would be a great time to ask them. They're the professionals. They're the ones who know more about this naloxone than anybody else. My knowledge is somewhat limited. Basically, it's a life-saving drug. That if, especially if you have an opiate overdose, this is not an injection, but an inhalant that you would actually spray up their nose to get them breathing again. One of the things is, and to actually get them stop the overdose process. Especially in cases of methadone, this is a this is something that the methadone has twice the half-life that naloxone does, so you would have to get the person to an emergency room. However, naloxone would at least save their life to get them there. So it's a kind of a, I guess, a lot of people say it's prevention. It's prevention of death. It is not prevention of drug abuse. It does help people live and hopefully move on to recovery after they get things. After, at least they have the chance to recovery if they're still walking around. So we are in favor of this bill and hope it can get through. Another bill, we are actually going to testify on it today. It's a pretty simple bill. It's House Bill 314. It's from Representative Nan Baker from up in the Cleveland area. It's the minor prescriptions bill. What it does is it basically, who knew, but doctors can actually prescribe, if they see fit, they can actually prescribe opiates and other medications to minors, and without consent to the parent. This actually came. This knowledge arose from testimony that Marcy and I were at along with the opiate task force that Representative Sprague had up in Toledo. And basically, there was a woman there whose 12-year-old daughter had gotten injured in a soccer game, I think, and the doctor, it was a small town, had given this 12-year-old girl a prescription for opiates. So, for her knee. Well, she became addicted, and she kept going back, and the mother had no knowledge of it. This basically fixed that loophole that a doctor would not be able to prescribe opiates to a minor unless there was parent or guardian consent. Again, pretty simple bill, and hopefully that will get passed in a relatively short amount of time. Sponsor testimony was given last week. We are giving proponent testimony with a couple of other groups who are in favor of it, and if there is any opponent testimony, that would happen probably next week or the week after. Actually, not the week after, the first week of December, since Thanksgiving is upon us. Medicaid expansion it did get through the controlling board. The controlling board is basically a group of legislators, both from the Senate and the House side, that I guess approve expenditures by the state. That can also, it's basically the fiscal approval entity, and they approved a Medicaid expansion that Ohio would be able to partake in that. Immediately, however, a group sued and is taking the state to court to stop Medicaid expansion based on it. This didn't go through a legislative process. A couple of bills have been introduced in the legislature to limit the authority of the controlling board. What is interesting is one of the bills from Representative Batchelder has come about, and who said in a news article that he knew it was going to pass. He was in favor of this happening, but he introduced a bill to limit the authority of the controlling board. So it's kind of a big mess, and Medicaid expansion is still a hot button topic. The state is going through like it's going to happen anyway, but it will be taken to court and will have to be defended. Another bill that is in the State House right now is House Bill 232, which is the professional counselors bill. What it is, it basically makes counselors, social workers, and folks like that who are accredited and approved by the different boards, are chemical dependency boards, and also like social workers boards and all of those types of folks. Basically, it was really tough if you're a person who maybe grew up in Ohio, you went to school in Michigan or Pitt or someplace, decide to return to Ohio with a social work degree or a marriage therapist degree, license in that state. It basically makes it a little bit harder to move back to Ohio. This eases House Bill 232 would then ease the restrictions that are placed right now to letting these people come back to the state and practice whatever it is, whether it's social work, marriage, family therapist, whatever it is. It eases the ability to do that. So it just kind of cuts some of the red tape out of the way. So it's mainly for out-of-state social workers and therapists and counselors to come back to the state, or if they never lived here, to actually practice here and make it an easier process. An interesting bill that was introduced last week is House Bill 332, which is the pain medications bill. It was introduced by Representative Lynn Watchman, and who's also the chair of the House Health and Aging Committee. But it was also co-introduced, and he's a Republican, but it was also co-introduced by Nikki Antonio, who's a Democrat. So it is a bipartisan bill. It's an interesting bill because what it does is it tightens opioid dispensing guidelines for doctors. Interestingly enough, the bill would the bill would limit the way that people could the doctors could prescribe opiates. What would happen is, especially if you're under 50, they're going for non-cancer. This is for the different back pains, knee pains, and all of the other issues that happen with individuals. But what it does is, for anybody under 50 who does not have cancer yet, opiates are prescribed. It would create some different, I guess, what they're calling safeguards to help doctors in prescribing opiates. One of the things is that a doctor couldn't prescribe an opiate to an individual under 50 who does not have cancer without, first of all, sending this person to a pain medication specialist. So the doctor would have to refer them to a pain medication specialist. The pain medication specialist would then have to say or prescribe, yes, this person really does have pain. Opiates are the best option for them. The physical therapy doesn't seem to work, all that kind of stuff, and either send them back to their doctor who could prescribe or actually prescribe them in place. So it really is an interest to me. It's an interesting kind of bill that I don't know how it will be. My guess is that some of the opponents to it will say that the doctors are already under enough scrutiny. They're already under enough pressure without this type of stuff. Patients who are in pain need to get their medications quickly. Insurance, I'm guessing insurance companies might be saying that it's just another bill that we have to foot, where you're adding another step before somebody gets an opiate medication. So it might be a somewhat controversial bill before all is said and done. I'm sure there's going to be lots of amendments added onto this, and all of those types of things. So what you see, what I send in my legislative weekly, will not be the final version of this bill if it gets through. There will be lots of amendments, lots of things added. So it will be interesting how that goes. Just wanted to throw that out there, however. If you're talking to your doctor and, hey, did you hear about this bill? It's kind of interesting. Mary Hay had a question about Senate Bill 116, which I believe is the Entertainment Districts bill. It's the one Senator Kearney who would like to basically have open container laws taken out of entertainment districts, so people could walk from bar to bar or restaurant to restaurant or whatever it is with an open container. That has still not made the schedule yet. I know that Mary was asked about it a couple weeks ago from her I think local, either politician or a news station, and I've been following that, and I thank you so much, Mary, for bringing that to my attention. But it has not received another hearing. I'm actually down at the State House today, and we'll be doing maybe some recon work to see, hey, have you heard about this, and what might be the next steps in this, whether it is moving anywhere, whether they're collecting amendments. But we'll let you know, and especially you, Mary, about what is going on with Senate Bill 116. So thank you for bringing that. Again, Mary, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, because I thought it was kind of a dead bill, but somebody's bringing it up, and wanted to make sure that we are on top of that, because I don't think doing a little bit of research on this. I don't think open containers the best way to ever solve any kind of alcohol issue. So in fact, it probably brings a lot more. Going to marijuana now. Marijuana news. The 2013 election results. With it being an off-year election, there were not a whole lot of things going on. More of the local ordinances and the city laws and all of those types of things. However, Colorado had a big election, which basically, what was the tax that they were going to put on marijuana? The people who were running the including the Attorney General and Governor, they wanted a 25% tax put on marijuana to fund school construction. I think we've heard that before with the lottery, and we see how well that works. But that was passed, so there is I think there's a 15% state tax and then a 10% local tax to make a 25% tax on marijuana for recreational purposes. Now, what it does is there was a lot of fight out there that the medical folks basically were trying to be run out of business by the recreational folks, because the medical folks can charge a cheaper tax than the recreational folks. So with this going on now, the recreational folks are now saying, great, with this 25% tax, what you're doing is you're basically having people in the black market control everything, because the black market doesn't have to pay the 25% tax, hence they can sell it cheaper. So if you're going to buy $10 worth of pot, and you can get it for $10 from a black market from your pot dealer on the corner, or you can pay $12.50. You're obviously probably going to go with the $10 pot. So basically, what they're fearing is that you're going to continue to go underground. This is an awful tax. So that Colorado continues to roll out. It seems like problem after problem after problem for that state. Next week I'm doing a 6-hour presentation on just Colorado and the pot industry out there, especially using a lot of the HIDA report and doing a lot of research for that. That state is really, really not doing this incredibly well, including from the medical piece, where they have the medical arm of the state, the medical marijuana arm of the state, have been blasted for a lot of loose spending and all of those types of things. So it really has not gone well at all for that state as far as trying to legalize. It will be interesting with the Department of Justice basically having trust but verify. They're going to trust the states to run it well, but they are going to stop by every once in a while to verify that things are being run well, to see how this kind of turns out. A couple other states, or actually a couple other cities. Portland, Maine, the largest city in Maine, actually legalized marijuana for recreational purposes in small amounts. So you can have a couple joints or blunts, or I always get made fun of because I say doobie, and pops especially don't like the word doobie. So Portland, Maine legalized pot in their city. So I don't know how that works with the rest of the states, but they're going through with it. Michigan is another state where 3 cities, villages, I don't know how big some of these cities are, but they actually legalized for small amounts of purposes and decriminalized it. Ferndale, a village or city in Michigan, Jackson, Michigan, and Lansing, Michigan, all passed ordinances to basically make pot legal for recreational purposes in very, very small amounts, decriminalized it, and all of that kind of stuff. So not only are you getting to the issue where states, you're going state to state, but then even cities within those states are also differences. So I guess if you're in Portland, Maine, and you go to Bangor, Maine, only two cities I know in Portland, the difference would be quite stark. I know it's a medical marijuana state up in Maine. However, if you're just kind of smoking it for recreational purposes in Portland, and you drive to Bangor, and you can't, that really is, you're almost getting into confusing, a really, really confusing issue for folks. Ohio basically is they're going for 2014. From what I understand, they have 40,000 signatures. That's still a long way away from the 385,000. Some of you, if you voted in this last election, they were camped out at just about every polling place that was running. My son actually saw one, and the little jerk that he is decided to, as he's going out, yell at them that, hey, you realize you got to stay 100 feet away from the front door. So he at least got them to move back because they were standing next to the front door. So there's a rule there, but that's just my proud little moment that my son is a little pot buster. Michelle Schumann is out of town. They paid her $25,000 for a week of work. She did a lot of media stuff while she was here. That was the October, I think, somewhere around the 17th, so that's the third week in October. And she actually, the day she left here, she had a mini stroke. Is now recuperating. She was hospitalized for some short time, but she is the Martha Stewart of Pot. She did a media tour here. She's from Ohio, and she's president of the Beverly Hills Pot Mom Club. She was here for a little bit, but the point is, she cost $25,000 for a week, which means somehow they're starting to get money infused into this to pay some of these folks, and that worries me a little bit because the money will then go to professional signature gatherers and all of those types of things. 2014 election, again, we, from marijuana, some of the things that we have to look at, Ohio, of course, could be on the ballot. Florida's another one where they're really pushing it medically. There's a gentleman down there that is pushing Florida's medical marijuana ballot and getting an off-ballot play. And then also there are a couple states that we think are going to try to legalize it as Washington and Colorado did. The states that they really are looking at is Alaska, Arizona, California, and Oregon. And this would be legalized for recreational purposes, not just medical. My guess is with Portland, their largest city, passing, Maine might be another. State that could be legalize pot for recreational purposes. In fact, the Marijuana Policy Project, who's one of who's the big lobbying arm for the pro-pot folks, said that Maine is one of the top targets for legalization in 2014. So I'm guessing that Maine will join those 4 states to have something on the ballot. So I wanted to give that update that this fight is not over. Continue. I know it's tiring. I know it gets kind of, oh my gosh, why are we doing this again? Why do we keep talking about this? But it really is something that I think the tide's going to turn, especially the way the Colorado's folding out. People are going to see it as a mess and hopefully wake up. I know that in January, Mary Haig and the Coalition for a Drug-Free Greater Cincinnati is having a marijuana forum or summit. So really, I'll have more information as that comes about. But really, really excited about that. So doing some good work around the state. Finally, I don't know how much time we have, but we have in April, we have an alcohol policy summit. It was actually interesting. One of the first people I talked to about it was Mary Haig when I went down and visited her down at the Coalition for a Drug-Free Greater Cincinnati, and asked her what would people think of an alcohol policy summit, and she thought it was a really, really good idea, that we haven't had one for a while. So as this idea caught on, more and more states, and I may let Derek talk about some of the states that have joined us in this, we decided not to just have an Ohio alcohol policy summit, but with more and more states joining, wanting to join on to this, it became a Midwest alcohol policy summit. So Derek, did you want to chat about that for a little bit?
Before I do that, Mary did have a question related to marijuana. Are there any states or communities that have defeated medical or recreational marijuana, and what can we learn from them?
Yeah, Arkansas has done it. Oregon defeated their legalization piece back in 2012. It's interesting if you look at the map. Michigan is an oddball because they're the only Midwest state to do this. They're either West Coast states or East Coast states, the map shows. Montana's another one that's kind of western, but there's nothing in the Midwest and there's absolutely nothing in the South. So I'm actually going to this Missouri. They also defeated theirs about a year, was it 2012 or 2010? But they defeated theirs, and going down and going to be sitting with them to see what their strategies were. So absolutely, and I think that's really, really important that we do that we learn from other states. So Arkansas and Missouri would be good, especially for the medical piece and how they defeated it. And that's a great question and great way to look at things. So thank you so much, Mary.
Anyone else has questions, please feel free to answer or ask the question in the question field. As Tony mentioned, we are working on the inaugural Alcohol Policy Summit for the Midwest, and we're calling it MAPS, Midwest Alcohol Policy Summit. And it's a collaboration of 9 states. Those states include Ohio, as well as Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. And what we'd like to do is really pull from all of the resources throughout not only the Midwest but throughout the country and have this summit focused on alcohol policy. There is the Alcohol Policy Conference, which happens every other year in D.C., but there's some logistical issues and cost issues related to having folks from the Midwest make it to D.C., particularly just with travel and everything at lodging is pretty expensive. So we want to host this summit here. It's something that we've been talking about for several years, and we're just very excited that we're able to make this happen. Right now we have a call for proposals out. So if your community is working on anything related to alcohol policy, we would love for you to submit a proposal. If you've not received the request for proposals, please shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to send you that link. But what we're looking for is April 1st will be the pre-conference for the summit, and that is focused on college and law enforcement. We know that college and law enforcement have some unique needs, and we want to make sure that we focus on those. Some of the key topics for the colleges are Good Samaritan policies. Some communities or colleges, campuses have started to implement those related to if I'm at a party and I may be underage and I'm drinking and someone else is underage and drinking, they might have a fall or some other issue that they might need medical or law enforcement assistance. There's policies that kind of protect the person that assists them. Also looking at drink specials on college campuses. We know that in terms of environmental prevention, access and availability is a big kind of way to bring that in, and the lower the access with drink specials increases the availability as well. Also looking at on and off campus student codes of conduct on campuses. Looking at law enforcement, party patrol prevention is kind of a big thing that's developing throughout the country. RJ Elric with Pyre will be here to talk about party patrol dispersal. So he'll take up every breakout session for the entire pre-conference focused with law enforcement and appropriate party patrol dispersal, and also looking at some lessons learned related to compliance checks. For some topics related to the community, alcohol-infused products, I know that's something that's been discussed in the advocacy calls for quite some time, and it has since passed in Ohio within the last budget. Want to know what some of those ramifications might be with not only alcohol whipped cream, but the confections, so your alcohol-infused chocolates and other things, your Jell-O shots that are pre-made. Not really sure what some of those ramifications might be. Also looking at responsible beverage service training as an option there is some of the things that we're looking at. So again, and then of course social host is something that we're looking at as well. Not only for Ohio, we have our statewide law, but a lot of communities are enacting their local laws. Dublin is a great example of that here just northwest of Columbus, and they actually had a student that had a car accident and died. So they went after their local social host ordinance for that as well. Some of the questions I see is, can you repeat the 9 states? Thank you, Greg, for your question. Absolutely. In addition to Ohio, the states are Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. So we're kind of defining Midwest as the partners that want to come to the table with us. Nebraska, while technically they're about as middle of the country as you can be, on the western side, we're bringing those in as well as some of our other states also. And as Mary had pointed out, Alcohol Policy Summit is right up some of the SPIF-SIG community focus areas, so this will be a great asset with that. Spoke to Dawn Thomas at Odatis about SPIF-SIG and how that might relate to alcohol policy. She's very excited. She started to join our calls, the last call that we had with our planning committee, so we're certainly thinking about that. And this is really a prime time when the SPIF-SIG communities are looking at implementation to kind of bring this all home. So all the stars really aligned for this, and we're very excited. If you have any questions related to Alcohol Policy Summit, please feel free to email me or give me a call. And also, we're kind of over our time now, but if you have any other questions related to anything that we've discussed today, please ask that in the questions pane now. Tony, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, that concludes it for me. So thank you all so much for understanding again about the time change and for joining us this morning. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. And if you hear anything that might, well, I've heard this might be going on, please give me a call and I can check it out for you too. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day.
And our next advocacy call will be December 10th. Just a reminder that we are also doing monthly program webinars. Today's webinar will be at 1 o'clock featuring parents who host Lose the Most, Don't Be a Party to Teenage Drinking. December 10th, we're going to have the program webinars following the advocacy webinars in the afternoon. So the focus on December 10th will be Buzzkill, Serve Under 21, and the party's over. Allison and I will be presenting, as well as our special guests with the University of Mount Union, Kelleen Weber. Thank you, Kelleen, for joining us today as well, and one of her graduate students. And then January 14th, we're going to be looking at the Big Bull vote with the Super Bowl coming up and kind of the impact of alcohol marketing in youth. So those things are coming up. Again, those call for presentations are out for the Alcohol Policy Summit, and those are due back by December 13th. There are no other questions at this time, so thank you all for joining us today, especially moving your calendar up that extra hour, and hopefully we've provided you with some good information. So again, if there's anything else you need, you can always go to drugfreeactionalliance.org, email Tony at tcoder@drugfreeactionalliance.org, or things related to the Alcohol Policy Summit, email me, dlongmire at drugfreeactionalliance.org. Thank you again, and have a great day.